All right, so what we created last time is this main menu where we can roll over, start, and quit. It gives it a little bit of green. We can click it, it turns yellow. Let's program the functionality to allow us to open a new level and all that good stuff. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to create a new scene. And I'm just going to do lit 2D URP and I'm going to hit create. And then I'm going to do file, save as. And in the scenes folder, I'm just going to call this level 01. And just for some sort of like feedback, when we click our start button to go to this level, I'm going to right click in here and go to UI. And I'm just going to create a new Text Mesh Pro asset. And I'm going to change the text in here to level 01. And then I'm going to click on my center here, hold Alt and middle mouse clicked in the center here to center my text. And then for the size, we can just kind of expand this and then go down to font size and just kind of really crank this up. And just to center it again, I'm going to hold Alt and just center click again. So I'm holding inside of my rec transform, I click in here and I hold Alt and then this allows me to center it. So let's go ahead and hit Control S or just hit save. And let's go back to our scenes folder. I'm actually going to delete this sample scene. We don't need it. We have a main menu and a level that we're working out of. So let's go back to our main menu here. And I'm going to right click in the scripts folder, create another C# script. And I'm going to name this C# script main menu. Now there's something that you have to do a little bit of setup here depending on the code editor. When you're first installing Unity, you install Visual Studio. What we're going to do is I use a program called Writer. So you go to Edit and then go to Project Settings. And you can go to this tab here that says Editor. This gives you all of these changes, these settings. What we're actually going to do, is you're going to go to Edit and then Preferences, rather, not Project Settings. And inside of here, you're going to do External Tools. Now, if you click on this, you'll see your version of Visual Studio. I don't have Visual Studio installed because I love Writer. I use Writer. And you can actually, if you go to the website, you can actually get Writer for free. I'm going to actually pause for a second and just open up the site for a second to show you where that's at. So I went to Google and I typed in JetBrains Writer Student. And it says free educational licenses. Now, I just used my student ID, my faculty ID rather, and it says individual licenses for students and teachers. You just fill out the form. I mean, they let me know within a day or two. You don't have to use this. It comes with Visual Studio Community, which works great. I just love Writer. I'm absolutely in love with it. I actually pay for a professional license for all my work stuff. And then when my teaching stuff, I use this free license. Not that it matters since I already have a pro license, but just so you know. So for students and teachers, you go down here, you hit apply now. They ask you for your student ID. Just go through this form and then install it. And what we're looking for is Writer. So once it's there, once you download it, you'll be able to install, you just click off Writer and it'll do it. And then there's a little bit of setup for Unity. If you need help with that, let me know. But again, you can just do the same exact things we're doing, but inside of Visual Studio. All right, so once you have your external tool and you select Writer, you close that out. It's going to prompt you to restart. I would restart your project anyway. I don't necessarily need to do that. But I'm going to go ahead and double click main menu. What is interesting is when you make a new project with Writer, it does prompt you with this untrusted solution. Hit trust and open, and then it'll open up this, it'll open up Writer for you and your main menu code. So if you're completely new to programming inside of, in general, if you're completely new to programming, don't let this scare you. This is a class, and inside this class is a bunch of code. You can think of it as just a file for now. Again, if you're completely new to this. And inside of this, we have these things called methods or functions. You'll hear those terms used interchangeably depending on the programming language. The more you code, notice, let me step back for a second. It's called a programming language for a reason. You're learning to speak a type of high-level language, like in code. So sometimes if you're an artist coming into coding, like I was, we're kind of these deep, I think most people are deep in general and rooted, and we want to know the meaning of everything. But like for some reason, I don't know if it's art school or whatever, but they infuse us in this thing where we're always looking for the meaning of life. So we're always like, why does that exist? What's the meaning behind it? Where did it come from? For now, just understand the best way to wrap your head around this is you're learning a language. Certain things, certain programming things do certain things or have meaning, and that's it. So as the more we code and the more we build this out, the more you're going to become more comfortable with this. All right, so at the top here, we have these using directives. And what we're doing is we're going to be using some code that already exists, that exists within a folder. So for instance, we're going to be using stuff in the Unity engine, but what we're really looking for is, and I'm going to hit Control D here to duplicate this, some files that are in scene management. And this will allow us, and it's great because we haven't done anything with it yet, but this will allow us to access certain pre-made code that allows us to do things like load a level and things like that. I'm not going to be using start or update, so I'm just deleting that. Now, here's another thing that a lot of people get caught up on. These curly braces here indicate the opening and the closing of a block of code. So right now, make sure that when you delete those two on the inside, that you only have you have this name of our class, which is the name of our file. And if you're having issues and it's not working and not compiling and stuff, one of the things you want to make sure of, I see a lot of students do this, I'm going to double back for a second, is you'll create a script like this, and then you'll click off of it. So I'm going to let that compile for a second. And then you'll notice here that this script is actually called new behavior script. If I double click on this, my class name is new behavior script, but you want to name this main menu. So you click on that and you go main menu, and oh, that's nice that it stopped me. So I'm going to go ahead and hit rename here. I'm going to see if it'll let me rename it. No, it did not let me rename. So in earlier versions of Unity, I'm using 22.3. In earlier versions of Unity, it would allow you to rename it. Now, the reason why is it'll get lost or confused if the name of your file is different than the name of your class. So I'm very happy that they fixed that. But if yours allows you to rename it, or you're having these errors where it's like it can't find your script, it's because your script name is different than your class name. So that's really reassuring and awesome to see. So let's go back into Rider. Take a look at our main menu script. All right, so here's our class main menu, and we're going to create a custom function or method. I'm going to use method more than function because it's C#, and they tend to lean towards method more than function, but sometimes I'm reading these Unity books and they'll mention function instead of method. But we're going to focus on method. So what is it? So a method is really just a reusable block of code, and it's a way of containing logic. So a lot of times you'll hear them described as a machine that has information coming in and out. But for now, we just want to create, so let's put a comment here, and we're going to say, create a method. Sorry about all the loud typing. I'm going to get another keyboard without the, that's not mechanical, so it's not so loud. But create a method that loads level 1. So I tend to like to, there's functional programming where they want the code itself to be so explicit and named properly that you don't need comments. But when you're starting out, it's good to just sort of plan out your code this way. So this isn't a bad way of doing it. Some places still use comments, others don't. But anyway, so we want to create a method that loads level 1. So we're going to make a public. That means it's code that's allowed to be accessed outside the script. This isn't really going to do any mathematical computations or anything. So it's void method called play game or load, let's say, because we wanted to start our game. So let's just do play game, because this function is really going to only have one purpose. And that's when I click on it, click the start button, it loads our game. We're never going to see our main menu again. Maybe we can change this around or refactor it so that when you hit escape, it just reloads or brings back that main menu. But for now, this is fine. And inside of this scene management, we're going to use something called scene manager and dot. And then what we're going to do is we're going to load a scene. And that scene, I'm going to kind of shrink this down for a little bit. Let's go to file and then build settings here. Now, we want our main menu in here, but we also want, let's delete this too, so that once our game starts or builds, it has main menu. We want to have level 01 underscore. So I'm going to click on this, do like a hard press, and I'm going to copy this text. levels underscore 01. When I click my start button, I want it to immediately jump to level 01. So let's go ahead and close that. That'll save that out. And then let's fire up Writer again. I'm going to maximize that. And then inside of here, I'm going to paste this. Now, make sure that you put a semicolon there. And that's going to end this line. So let's go ahead and save this. And let's see how we can wire this up back in Unity. So here we are back in Unity. Now, by default, there's a little bit of code already added to our start button. So with our start button selected, not the text underneath, but the start button above, if I scroll down here, you'll see there's a section that says on click. Now, in this on click section, if I hit plus, I'm going to do a runtime only. That means, actually, we could do editor and runtime. This is pretty cool. I'll show you this in a second. But we want to attach this script to something. So what we can do is we can attach this script to, we can create an empty game object. That's one way of doing this. And just call this, I don't know, like UI manager or something for now. And then we'll add some more code. And then for this UI manager, which is empty game object, I might just drop it on my canvas so it lives there. And then within that, I can grab this main menu script. And now, because otherwise we can't use the script, we have our main menu script in our scene. So now when I select my start button, I can grab my user interface manager, drop that in there. And it says here no function. But what we're going to do is we're going to look for main menu, which is the name of this script. And remember we made that variable public called play game? We're going to click on that. So now when I click this button, it's going to call this play game function. And what this play game function does is it actually loads a scene, loads level 1. So I'm going to hit Control S to make sure this is saved. I'm going to press play. And now when I click start, you can see it loads level 1. Now the cool thing about that is, remember, this isn't going to work unless you go to your build settings and you make sure level 1 is in your build settings here. All right, so let's go ahead and script out our quit button. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to save you all the clicking and the clacking sounds. I'm going to go ahead and type, I'm going to go ahead and create another method. So actually, let's just highlight all of this. I'm just going to hit Control D on this. Now we're going to get an error because you can't have two methods with the same name. And I'm going to call this quit game. And instead of scene manager.load scene, actually, I want to show you something else. A good way of testing, which is something I do quite often, is I use these debug.logs. And this is just a way of testing. It prints text to the console. So for example, like we want to test if this is going to work on our quit button. So I'm going to say game, or I'm going to say quit, or we could say game exited. And I'm going to hit Control S here and save this. I'll zoom in a little bit more so you can see that. Now let's go ahead and wire this up to our quit buttons. Here's our quit button. I'm going to hit plus here. I'm going to grab my UI manager, drop that in there, go to no function, main menu, and then we created this new quit game method. Now, when I press play, let's go ahead and go to, you can hit Control Shift C for this as well, but you can go to General. I'm going to open up my console, and let's just clear this out for a second. Now, when I press play, you'll see there's a little exclamation point here. When I click quit, you can see, quit. So every time I click quit, yes, I can see that that button works. All right, perfect. Now let's go back in here, and you can comment this out now because we don't need it. We know that works. And we're just going to just type application dot, easy enough, quit. And this will allow us to quit our game. Now, you'll probably say, okay, well, when you go to test this is why I added that in there on the other part. Let's save this. Is when you go to test this and we press play here, you're like, cool, but that didn't do anything. And then that commented out the quit. So how do I know that that quit worked? Well, I'm going to go to File, Build Settings. And for now, we're just going to build for Windows, Mac, or Linux. I'm going to select Windows here. And I'm going to go ahead and just hit Build. And I'm going to save this in, I don't know, we'll just save it in my videos folder or something because there's not a lot of junk in there. I'm going to make a new folder and just call this main menu test. And I'm going to select that folder and I'm going to save all of this stuff and I'm going to let it build out. So let me pause that while it's building. All right, so here we are in our main menu test folder. Now, when I double click 2D game projects here, you can see it's opening the game itself. And the first thing it loads is our level. Now, forgive the stretching of an ultra wide monitor, but when I click start, you can see here's level 1. And I'm going to go ahead and control escape out of that. I'm going to quit this for a second. I really should put a quit button, but I'll let you guys do that for level 1 to allow people to quit your game. So let's go ahead and end this task. Let's go ahead and hit double run it again. But this time, I'm going to go ahead and click that quit button, and you could see it quit the game or quit the application. So sometimes you do have to do a build in order to test if something works. But overall, you can see that our game built, and now you can pass this main menu test folder. You can zip it up and send it to your friends and show them how awesome you are and that you created a main menu.